Allbirds sent me a pair of their all-wool shoes. I put them on. They were so white and breathable and comfortable. They didn't have any fancy logos on them. They just felt good on my feet, and they were nice. They looked good, and they felt good. Do you know why? Because the most comfortable shoes in the world are made of all wool. Even Time Magazine said that. And they've got a couple styles. They've got the Wool Runner, which is your go-to lace-up shoe for everywhere you go. It's flexible, supportive, and so light. They take you seamlessly through your entire day, whether you're at work or you're playing at night. And they also have the Wool Lounger. It's breathable, lightweight slip-on shoe that's perfect whether I'm traveling on a red-eye across the country or going to see a basketball game. The comfort, style, and sustainability do not have to be mutually exclusive. Allbirds is dedicated to making stylish, comfortable footwear that uses premium natural materials designed for life's everyday adventures. Allbirds textile is made from superfine New Zealand merino wool using fibers that are 20% the diameter of a human hair. So unlike the wool you may be used to, Allbirds' breathable fabric regulates temperature and moisture without any itch. The holidays are right around the corner. You should consider Allbirds for a gift for someone on your list or, better yet, yourself. They're available in a variety of colors and styles. Pick the perfect pair at allbirds.com.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, though?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What is it that we do, Mr. Rose?
We get to find individuals that have supported this program consistently, exactly what they want, when they need it.
Jalen Rose, the NBA Finals have not been very competitive through 2 games. It does not look like it did last year. It does not feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers can turn this around. How can the Cavs make this a series?
Well, they're going to win Game 3, but it won't be a series. You basically got beat by over 20 points in the first 2 games. You go into Game 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think their role players play better at home. Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith. You see Kyle Korver may make a couple of shots. Iman Shumpert be more of a contributor. But ultimately, it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. The Golden State Warriors, I anticipate, are going to win this series in 5. Initially, I felt like it's going to be 6, but watching Kevin Durant as well as Steph Curry played on the level that they're playing, and Cleveland Cavaliers, regardless, have not consistently been able to get stops throughout these playoffs. I talked about it against Indiana, how they were winning with offense. Even though the Pacers were scoring over 100, the Cavs just had a lot more firepower. Against Toronto, but Kyle Lowry was out. And also in the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Boston Celtics, it catches up to them in this series.
One thing that's been baffling for me has been the Cleveland Cavaliers have been trying to match the Warriors' pace. I don't usually do this, but I did a little research for this show. They have been playing at a pace that's over 108 possessions per team per 48 minutes. There were 61 fast break points in Game 2. That is the most fast break points in a playoff game in 20 years. And just think about all the playoff games there have been in 20 years. Why do the Cavs continue to try to match the Warriors' pace?
It's not that they're trying to match the Warriors. It's who the Cavs have morphed into over the last couple of years, and that's what happens with basketball teams. A couple of years ago when the Cavs were playing at their optimal, it was Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving being second and third options for LeBron James, though they struggled on the defensive end. So a lot of times somebody would guard their men, and in Kevin Love's case, he would be out of the game. Last year, he was out of the rotation, out of the starting lineup. But then Kyrie evolved in such an amazing offensive player, not only for the first 3 quarters, but a clutch player, really goes one-on-one, can finish at the hoop as we all know, and all of a sudden they win the championship with he and LeBron basically isolating to get the majority of the points. Now you surround them with more role players. Well, Kyle Korver, Channing Frye, J.R. Smith, they need people to create shots for them. And what the Golden State Warriors are doing, they're staying with them. They're allowing Kyrie to go one-on-one, but you're going to see some terrific one-on-one moves. You're going to get some oohs, you're going to get some ahs. But then when he makes the shot, you're going to be like, man, that was a tough bucket. Like, he earned that. And so for LeBron James, the exact same thing, while they're requiring LeBron James on the other end to guard KD. And KD's been having his way.
Let's talk about these role players because they definitely cannot play worse at home. They hope to play better. Darren Williams, 0 for 5. Amon Shumpert, 1 or 2 for 6. Channing Frye, just invisible, getting the ball around the bucket and just not knowing what to do with it. Tristan Thompson had 4 rebounds in Game 2. It just feels like only Kevin Love, Kyrie, and LeBron are showing up. Don't you feel like that way?
I do, and I think that's going to change in Game 3. I always talk about how role players feel more energized at home. Tristan in particular, the Kardashians going to be in the stands. A few of them going to be wearing his jersey. He's going to feel better about himself. J.R. Smith is all of a sudden going to be making shots with Kyle Korver. And Channing Frye is going to be chest bumping. And they're going to look like a lot different basketball team playing in front of their home fans in Game 3.
Now, I've been watching you closely on NBA Countdown. The suits are looking great. The waves are splashing on the shore. You've looked great on Countdown. And one thing you did say I do want to contest, though. You said that LeBron James isn't tired. For me, when I watch these two games, I see a first-half LeBron James driving to the hole, getting buckets, dragging JaVale McGee through the lane, dunking on people. And then I see a second-half LeBron James, jump shots, not necessarily as energized, taking possessions off. I feel like he has been tired with everything that they ask him to do. Do you still think that he is not tired in the second half?
This is LeBron's 14th season, and we've never arguably seen him play better. That's been disputed in the regular season, where he's averaged more rebounds and assists than he's ever averaged. It's also been discussed this postseason, where he's been terrific in every phase and leading his team to only a 12-1 record going into the NBA Finals. Also a club that found ways to selectively rest him and others, and they got rest along the way. You actually going to use the word tired? Did you just do that?
He looks tired.
It's not about him being fatigued. No, we're not going to. No, hit the brakes.
He looks tired to me. I'll hit the brakes for you, but he looks tired to me.
Here's what it is. Mike Brown coached LeBron James. And also, this is the third straight year the Golden State Warriors have played against him in the finals. They're going to make him exude energy on both ends of the floor. They're going to make him score and stay home with the shooters. Let's see if you can get a 40, 50-point game. And on the other end, you got to guard KD. Because when you're not in front of him, nobody else even has a shot. And you know what KD does? I don't care if LeBron on me or not. I'm still getting money. And so all of a sudden, the Cleveland Cavaliers not only were a team that turned the basketball over a lot in Game 1, they forced a lot of turnovers of the Warriors in Game 2, over 20 of them, and they still got thumped.
Your man, Paul Pierce, on the Countdown set, he said that KD might be the best player in the world. You and Chauncey accused him of having a mug full of truth juice. Do you think that there may be a chance that KD is testing LeBron James for that crown? I do not.
Paul is definitely a prisoner of the moment. I told him to work to the media side, the hot take fashion, 101. And he just retired this year, and he was sweating like he really wanted to get out there and play. So with that being said, it's not much of a stretch, and I actually laugh at people that say, well, Paul Pierce said that KD's the best player in the league. It ain't like he said it about Klay Thompson. I mean, KD has been in like the top 2 or 3 for the past few years. He only won MVP before. He did lead the Oklahoma City Thunder to the finals before playing against one said LeBron. So it's not much of a leap to say he's in that conversation. Basically what he's doing is acknowledging that going into these playoffs, KD talked about his demeanor. And a lot of people were frowning when he said, you know what, it's just basketball. I'm going to go out and play my best. If we win, we win, but I know I made the best decision. And other people that was critics like, oh, he doesn't have the Michael Jordan killer instinct. He cares more about life than he cares more about championships. You remember guys that were saying that?
Yes, I do.
And then all of a sudden the playoffs start. And he's actually out there playing with the killer instinct, not talking about it. That's truly what I've seen from Kevin Durant. But here's the thing that can't get lost. If the series was to end right now, it'd be co-MVPs. He ain't the only one that's balling. Let me introduce you guys to somebody named Steph Curry.
Wardell
who's
Stephen
had double-figure assists in both games and also a triple-double in Game 2. He's actually putting in work as well for all of the people that were like, wait a minute. Kyrie balled out in the finals last year, right-wing jumper over Steph. They were isolating him, the behind-the-back pass. Steph was waiting to get back to this point, too. Now, all of a sudden, both of those guys playing dominant at the same time.
Everyone is just replaying where Steph Curry puts LeBron on skates and gets a layup. Does it matter that he double dribbled?
It does not matter. Some people may say Allen Iverson carried in his crossover against Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan pushed off against Byron Russell.
What?
Does not matter.
What?
When you put it on wax, people will replay it for eternity. Jalen Rose, LeBron James did not go to the podium to speak with the media. He had the media come to him in the locker room. We'll get to that in a second, but first, here's what he had to say when asked if he needed an IV after the game.
Nah, I'm good. Just need some food and some wine. I'll be all right.
Jalen Rose, is LeBron James's post-finals game routine the exact same as yours?
Absolutely. No question about it. The difference is I'm not the same size as Karl Malone. I don't have 4 MVPs and 3 championships.
He opened a second bottle.
What we doing up to the game is probably a lot different.
Probably.
How we perform during the game is vastly different.
Yep.
But what we do after the game, we're exactly alike.
Exactly the same. You know, last night after game 2, he opened one bottle, drank it, looked at a second bottle and was like, you know what? Why not? I'll have one glass of this one too. He didn't go to the podium, as I mentioned. And the reasoning for this is he was saying that he's had to wait a lot and the scheduling is difficult and the walk between the locker room and the media room is kind of far and confusing. I'm not buying any of this. Do you think if they won game 2, he still would not go to the podium?
I think had they won game 2, he would be at the podium. But I will say this. Us in the media have gotten spoiled by those stage media setups. It's okay to still go to the locker room, have a guy sit at his chair. You still have access to him. You can record on your tape recorder. You can stick your microphones as close as possible. You can zoom in on your cameras, all you need. You still get access. Now all of a sudden, you get all of this podium and you get a chance to sit in the air-conditioned room. There's food over here and there's tea and coffee over here. And you don't have to be inconvenienced at all.
And
well,
you get to say your name.
Talking to the media, I have no problem with it.
I like that you get to say your name. Everyone gets their little shine. They get on-camera moments on SportsCenter. I had to work hard to get on SportsCenter. These dudes are just on it every single time. Shout out to the NBA writers around the world in the press room getting their shine during the NBA Finals. This is an interesting storyline that no one is really discussing from the Cleveland Cavaliers locker room. Our man, our colleague, Mike Wise, tweeted that there was an aroma of medicinal in the Cavs locker room. Now, before you even address it, I do want to say there are a lot of people in the Cavs locker room that have nothing to do with the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. It's not like it is just the players there. There's players' friends, there's cameramen, there's sound men, there's media members. But still, are you surprised that there was an aroma of medicinal in the Cavs locker room after the game?
Well, this process has changed a lot clearly over the years. From joints to blunts. Now you have vaporizers. And so there are those that feel like, man, this ain't really like doing anything wrong. I'm going to fire up anywhere, anytime. That does take place. But again, you're in California where the person who probably was doing it is a card-carrying customer. You have to take that into account. But that player was not a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers coaching staff or a member of their team because the stakes are too high, the quarters are too close, and frankly, they're the road team. And you know you're about to go get on the airplane. You ain't moving like that.
No. Someone definitely had the wrong jacket on. Like, there's a sound man somewhere that just wore the wrong jacket and was like, oh, no. Like, here I am in the Cavs locker room funking up the joint. Shout out to Mike Wise for giving Jalen Jacoby the stories that we really care about. Another story that I cannot get enough of is this. There was a lockout summer where the future of the NBA was kind of like uncertain. And do you know what happened? Kevin Durant, who's matched up against LeBron James, went to Akron, Ohio for a workout. And while they were together in 2011, they recorded a hip-hop song. We've got more details. It was first Kevin Durant had a verse, and then we had a guest verse from LeBron James, and then Kevin Durant goes back in for a second verse. Number one, do you think we will ever hear this song?
I think you will hear the song because you know about it.
Yes. We have to hear it now. It has to come out. Yep. Number 2, Jalen Rose. Somebody, somewhere, must have Jalen Rose on wax, spitting, as you say, bars.
No way.
Never.
Absolutely not.
Never in high school, never when you were 14, 15. No one broke out a cassette tape recorder.
No. Here's why.
Oh, yeah, me neither then. Oh, yeah, I would never do that either then.
No, here's why, though. Because we set certain barriers in our lives that become goals that we may be able to achieve and some that you realize that are unrealistic. And there was a day I looked in the mirror and I said, "You're no Magic Johnson." And after that, everything I started to see a lot clearer. It gives you a different sense of humility. And that's how I got exposed to rap music. Listening to The Message with Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. Listening to KRS-One. Back in the day, Cool G Rap, Slick Rick, Big Daddy Kane, EPMD, Run DMC, NWA, Tupac, Biggie. You actually think I'm going to get in front of a microphone and think I can spit bars and disrespect some of the greatest legends to ever do it? Not going to be able to do it.
A young teenage...
And to take a step further, I never even tried.
A young teenage high school David Jacoby never had that conversation with him in the mirrors. Obi-Wan Jacoby had bars! Shout to the Chaos Clique from Amherst, Massachusetts.
I have to say something about that.
What's that?
We gotta go deeper into that for a second.
No, we don't.
Because you know I can clearly name artists all day.
We don't need to do this.
I can go Beastie Boys. We got Immortals all up on the wall, but let's go into... Did you say Obi-Wan Jacoby?
Yes, Obi-Wan Jacoby has bars. You know me, Obi-Wan Jacoby. Of course. You don't get the reference, Jalen, because you've never seen Star Wars. It's a Star Wars reference, Jalen Rose. My MC name had a Star Wars reference in it. That is how much I love Star Wars. Not only that, you, Jalen Rose, made an Avengers reference in the postgame during NBA Countdown. Did you script that? Did you do your research? I was very curious to hear take us behind the curtain on the Avengers reference.
Well, I just didn't care. The bottom line is a lot of superheroes out there, and I wanted to name as many that came to mind. And asking me did I prepare is like asking me to name 5 times better than the name Fab Five. It's also like me asking, is the name Obi-Wan Jacoby whack?
Don't you
Oh my
dare.
goodness. Did you have that on the t-shirt?
Don't
you have that on the belt buckle?
Disrespect. First of all, we didn't have customized belt buckles in
There's
Amherst,
more.
Massachusetts. No, there's not more. There's no more. There's no more. We're done. The segment's over. The segment's over. Segment's over. I'm sorry, no more time. We got 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 no more time. I'm sorry. That's all the time we have for this segment. When we come back on Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose, you kind of went viral today. You went a little viral today. There is a clip from an upcoming half-hour special called Jalen vs. Everybody. Tell the people a little bit about this clip and the project.
So a couple of things. I was asked by Nanach Kakan, the executive producer, and Melvin Marr.
Shout out.
If I would consider doing a comedic version of what it's like to be a single parent. One that juggles career along with fatherhood and all of the challenges and the barriers and all of the glory that comes with being not only a public figure, but a parent, somebody that works in a competitive industry and juggles multiple tasks. Being on Jalen and Jacoby, NBA Countdown, the founder of a charter high school, a lot of traveling, and the wear and tear that comes with it and all of the things that you have to endure to try to keep it together. So that's really what it's about. I never woke up in my life before this project and say, hey, of all the things I want to be, I want to try acting. It was nothing I ever thought about doing. You see a lot of artists fortunately do it, whether it's one of my mentors, Ice Cube. You've seen many comics do it as well. And I'm talking about make the transition for their normal craft to actually acting. But you don't see many athletes actually doing it. And so there were a few I saw that were doing it along the way. Rick Fox comes to mind. I see Eddie George currently doing his thing. Mm-hmm. The Rock was a former collegiate football player.
Good point.
Who's now made it big as an actor. And obviously Michael Strahan has dibbled and dabbled as well. So It wasn't something that I was passionate about initially, but I got encouraged by this thought. I had a chance to learn Spanish in high school, and I remember looking around saying, I don't want to learn Spanish. I ain't never going to Spain. And so once I did that, I was like, man, that was a lost opportunity. Imagine if I was on Countdown last night and I could go trilingual on them. It'd be over. Other than just the 360s up top. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I was like, I'm going to approach this exercise and I'm going to take it serious. So I got an acting coach. Her name is Leslie Kahn. I was going to classes sometimes twice a day, going to sessions, going to lessons, learning my lines, learning the craft, trying to get better every day, helping come up with characters on a production side. And it's a comedic, very loosely based situation of what a lot of people, I think, can relate to, the sacrifices and the challenges that come with being a single parent.
Jalen Rose, that was a great job describing the background and the origin of this project. However, you got to learn how to plug, man. If I want to see this, when and how can I see this?
I know how to plug. You asked me what was the origin of the project, and that's what I just gave you. Now, if you want to plug the project,
yes,
you can go online right now. There's a clip that comes from the project. It's a really funny clip about myself and Kobe Bryant and his amazing 81-point game. Go check that out online and also on ESPN.
Yes!
On Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern. Make sure you check out Jalen versus Everybody right after the special edition of First Take, which I'll be appearing on as well.
Shout out.
Tuesday, June 6th, 7:30 Eastern. Jalen versus Everybody. Set your DVRs right now. You will not want to miss this. There are some great cameos. As you mentioned, Kobe Bryant is in it. You might see another Hall of Famer from the NBA in it. You will see our colleagues. Rachel Nichols is in it, I know. I think Marcellus is in it as well. But, Jalen, someone else is playing Jacoby. What happened there?
Here's what happened, is that the Jalen and Jacoby show was one of the anchors that led them to get closer into what my backstory represented, because we talk about so many things over the 5 years of this program. And so that became an anchor part of the actual pilot and the actual show. And so it was decided that that person actually has to be an actor.
That's fair.
But guess who isn't an actor? The lead, me. So that person definitely has to be a really strong actor. And so we got that. He did a really good job. I'm glad you guys got a chance to meet. Maybe I'll post you guys' picture up again. But again, I'm really humbled that it actually took place. So many people and so many people invested sweat equity in the project. I think it's going to be unique. I think it's going to be funny. It's going to be something that you haven't seen. And I think whether you have a remote control in your hand and you hate it or love it, whether you hate me or love me, like my acting, hate my acting, as long as people talking about it and it's trending, like Charlie Sheen would say, winning.
Oh, Charlie Sheen reference. That's impressive. I did hear a rumor that there is a young actor on this project who is absolutely destined for stardom. I believe they play a waiter, and I think their line is champagne flip and a scotch. Can you tell us more about this young thespian on the rise to stardom?
His name is the actual David Jacoby, who appears.
Yes.
And I purposely have not got into the business of naming so many people that came through and represented, because when I do that, I'm going to have a piece of paper. Because what happens when you have 22 minutes worth of television and you have 25 cameos, there's one person you leave out. It's going to be fast-paced. People are going to be really excited about the project. And once it happens, I'm going to make sure I shout out everybody who participated. I appreciate the love.
Make sure you set your DVRs. That is tomorrow, June 6th, 7:30 Eastern on the real ESPN. Not ESPN News, not ESPN2, the actual ESPN. It is called Jalen versus Everybody. And knowing what I know about it, I know that you will love it. Moving on, today, June 5th, is the anniversary of Michael Jordan's iconic going up with the right and then switching with the left and finishing at the hoop shot. Jalen, am I a jerk for pointing out there's absolutely no reason to switch to your left? There's absolutely no reason to do this. Why is this celebrated like this?
Well, when you jump like Michael Air Jeffrey Jordan, you still selling more shoes than anybody 30 years later, gravity is not an option sometimes. And he jumped in the air and he felt like, wow, I'm still floating. He looks down at the ground. He looks eye to eye at the hoop. He like, let me try something. So he just freaks it to the left hand and he throws it in the hoop. An iconic move.
Yep. Jalen Rose, it is time for our Stanley Cup update. I have been watching the Stanley Cup Finals and thoroughly enjoying them. The Penguins dominated Game 1 and Game 2. Then the series flips to Nashville. Guess what? The building was live. The crowd was hyped. And the Nashville Predators opened up the game in the second period. They won handily, making this series a 2-1 advantage for the Penguins. Could you see something like this happening in the NBA Finals? One team dominates the first 2 games at home. In Game 3, the home team wins. And we start saying to ourselves, well, perhaps that team that got dominated in the first 2 games has a chance. Could you see that happening in both series as it did in the Stanley Cup Finals?
I see the Cleveland Cavaliers winning Game 3, but I got to make sure I say something about Sid the Kid getting on PK's breath. Come on, Sid. What's happening? Get off my guy. You're going to make me have to come to a game and represent.
PK Subban.
With that being said,
PK Subban.
The Cleveland Cavaliers' difference in the NBA versus the NHL is we've seen those historic come-from-behind situations take place, so it's not much of a surprise. And the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to accomplish that last year. They won't be winning 4 out of 5 in this series with Kevin Durant playing on the other team the way he's playing. Nope. Not gonna be able to do it.
Jalen Rose, I know you will appreciate this. I originally predicted the Cleveland Cavaliers will win in 6 games, and I'm sticking with my pick. Cleveland Cavaliers win in 6. Remember where you heard it, on Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio. Remember, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show just like this.
Good evening, Jalen and Jacoby. This is Julian Solberg from Connecticut. My question is for Mr. Jalen Rose. Now, with KD having another outstanding game, it was said by Will Cain today that he has officially stolen the torch from LBJ and is officially the best player in the NBA. Now, do you believe this to be truth or fiction? Keep giving them what they want. Have a great day, man. Peace.
I was watching First Take when Will Cain said that. I actually sat next to Will Cain for a large portion of Game 2. And he really was enthusiastic about what endured, especially when the Golden State Warriors came out and scored 40 points in the first quarter. Same with Paul Pierce. After the game, the Golden State Warriors get up 2-0. He goes and suggests that the KD is the best player in the world. And again, that's not much of a leap. He's been in the top 2 or 3 for the past 5 or 6 years. Yep. So with that being said, you can make this an apples and oranges argument. Bottom line is, people are taking the king of court theory. There's a reason why there's an NBA Player of the Week, Player of the Month, MVP of the regular season, and MVP of the postseason. What it looks like now is one of the top 2 or 3 players is actually having a terrific series, possibly outplaying LeBron James because not only statistically he's been more effective or just as effective, but the bottom line is his team is up 2 games. But if the championship was decided today, there would be co-MVPs. Steph Curry keeps getting left out of this conversation. But KD is playing terrific. And yes, he is amongst the top couple of players in the game.
I just want to appreciate how cordial Julian was. He started by saying good evening, which always makes me happy. He called you Mr. Jalen Rose, and then he finished by saying have a great day. That was a very nice call. That was like one of my strongly worded emails. I just appreciate just how nice he was. That's one way to get on. Another way, obviously, give Reggie a shout-out. I don't know why that works every time. It annoys me every time it happens. Shout-out. Let's listen to the next voicemail and see if they give Reggie a shout-out. I'm guessing they do.
Jalen Jacoby, this is Neil from Irving, Texas. Big shout-out to Fiona. I am 6'8", 250 pounds. I'm in the dating pool. I'm getting backlash from my friends. I clean up all right, and I look good, but I'm getting bad feedback for loose-fitting jeans. Not baggy jeans, loose-fitting jeans. Need some fashion help. Keep giving the people what they want. Help me out. Later.
Neil, Jalen Jacoby will always support loose-fitting jeans. Always support loose-fitting jeans. It's important satirically to not buy all the way into the latest trends. You know what I mean? Like, I saw the skinny jean thing happen. I even tried a pair on once. I took them off immediately once I was in the dressing room. Like, this is not happening. This doesn't feel right. Guess what? And now everyone's saying, oh, baggy jeans are coming back. I saw a headline, ASAP Rocky's rocking baggy jeans. Guess what? Guess who they're not coming back for? Jalen and Jacoby and Neil from Irving, Texas. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
I agree with you. Set trends, not follow each of them. There were some that I saw. I was a huge Ice Cube fan. I went to the store and got a St. Ives 40 ounce, but I wasn't getting the Jerry curl. And so there's just certain trends that I'm not going to follow. And I'm with you on that. I'm not going to be a guy trying to squirm on the bed to try to put on his pants. It's just not going to go down like that.
I'm with it. Thank you so much for the call. Remember, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you leave us a voicemail. Ladies, as always, Wednesday is Woman Crush Wednesday here on Jalen and Jacoby. Make sure you call in and leave us voicemails. We'll play them on Wednesday. But right now, we have this one.
What up, though? This is Chase from Knoxville. Guys, what's it going to take for you two to be able to do commentary for an NBA game? Love the crew, Mike, Stan, everybody that's in it that I can't think of their names right now because I'm driving, but I'd love to hear you guys in the booth for the games. Maybe have Jacoby play-by-play, Jalen color commentary. I think it'd be great if NBA doesn't know. You can get you guys some practice in the preseason, but I think it'd be an awesome time to get the people what they want. Appreciate it.
See, let me start here, Jalen. I can't lie. Sometimes you have to confess things. I've been practicing while I watch NBA games. For this very moment, I've been practicing. And Chase, you kind of hit it at the end, is they're not going to put Jalen Jacoby on the NBA Finals, but a preseason game between the Sixers and the Bucks, I could rock that. You want to put us on a summer league game, give us a little trip to Vegas? I can rock that. I know how you got to start. You got to start at the bottom and get your way to the top, and I'm ready to start at the bottom. Jalen, are you with me?
I think that's something that will take place in the future. And I'm glad to hear that you're practicing. One way I used to practice playing NBA Live or John Madden football, room full of people, you lose the game. Instead of laying on the sideline picking your nose or falling asleep, you got to commentate the next game. And so that was a way that I practiced also.
Chase, thank you so much for the call. Please be careful. I hope you have a Uconnect system or the Hub, Verizon. I think that they're a sponsor of ours, so you do not use your phone while you drive, because that is dangerous. Yeah. I want you to live, Chase. You're very important to us, Chase. Let's listen to another voicemail.
Hey, what's going on, Jalen and Jacoby? It's your boy DC from the SIP. I just had a question for you guys. If LeBron James gets swept this series, does he deserve to get pity? Or does it seem like he don't have enough to work around him? I just would like to know that. And I love your show, guys, and we putting it on wax.
Thanks for the shout. Appreciate the love.
Shout out.
We don't need to apologize for LeBron James's greatness. He will break the all-time leading mark for scoring in the NBA set by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yep. And then Kevin Durant is going to break his mark. So these are two guys that will find a way to make their legacy not only continue to be extended clearly from what it is now, but go into the pantheon of what we consider truly elite, dominant players. I think LeBron has already established that. KD joining the Warriors and the stats he's going to put up and the accolades he's going to have and the championships that they're going to win is going to warrant it as well.
I think that's a great point.
There won't be any excuses for LeBron James.
That's a great point. And
LeBron James has a terrific basketball team. I remember saying that they were Noah's Ark. They have two of everything. And the one elite thing that they have is LeBron James. Kyrie Irving has never been better. Kevin Love has never been better. This is the best season Tristan Thompson has had. They went and got guys that were starters on other teams and made them rotation players, and Channing Frye as well as Deron Williams. Unfortunately, Bogut got injured. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a terrific basketball team. But the Golden State Warriors are just better. I've been telling people last year, if Draymond Green had not gotten suspended in the fifth game, they would have closed it out then. And now you add KD, I just think it's going to be a problem not only for the Cavs, But we may be looking at a young dynasty in the making.
Thank you so much for the calls. Remember, ladies, call 985-80. Jalen will be playing your calls on Wednesday. Fellas, keep calling in. We always appreciate it. Jalen Rose is now showing me the clip from Jalen versus Everybody featuring Kobe Bryant.
Well, the only reason why I'm showing it to you because it's the top thing on Twitter.
Top thing on Twitter right now. You are trending for all the right reasons, Jalen. I always thought what would follow you trending on Twitter would be me losing my job as well. But look at this now. Now you're trending for all the right reasons. Now you're trending because you did something right. Shout out to Kobe Bryant for coming. Shout out to the Palm for allowing you to shoot there. Shout out to everybody for tuning in and DVRing Jalen versus Everybody. It is on tomorrow, Tuesday, June 6th at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Jalen Rose, while he has not been great on the offensive end of the floor, Iman Shumpert is the second best defender against Kevin Durant. There has been some rumors and rumbles that perhaps he will start over J.R. Smith, who has basically not appeared in these finals. Do you think that would be a smart move for the Cavs, as I do?
I don't like it. I do not like it because the one thing J.R. Smith provides is a catch-and-shoot, knockdown player that can get going with the best of them and make 5 threes in the game. While you do get better defense from Iman Shumpert, you ain't shutting down KD when he 8 inches taller than you. Nope. So usually when he misses, it's because it's off, not because he's getting locked down. And I do respect Iman Shumpert as a defender. I don't think at this point in the season you switch your starting lineup. It really changes the dynamics of the floor, in particular the spacing for Kyrie Irving's isolations and LeBron James drives to the basket.
So we know what LeBron James is doing now. He's guzzling bottles of wine and watching The Godfather and Godfather 2 and Godfather 3 while he listens to the Godfather audiobooks and reads the Godfather book all at the same time. One thing I found really interesting as he was talking about the gap between Game 2 and Game 3 with the media is he was asked about what adjustments would be made, and he said, Ty Lue, he's the one who makes the adjustments. You need to speak with him. Is he displacing blame a little bit, or am I reading too much into this?
You're reading too much into it because had he taken the other tone, it'd be like he's circumventing the coach. In this case, he's actually humbling himself and saying, if you want to know the answer to that question, ask the coach. He's going to decide what we do.
I think it's safe to say that Kevin Durant is a slight upgrade over Harrison Barnes, who did have a good season with the Mavericks, but there is this stat from ESPN Stats and Info. Kevin Durant has more points in this series, 66 points, than Harrison Barnes had the entire 7-game series last year. When you hear that, what goes through your mind?
It's almost like the BPI saying that the Cavs only have a 7% chance of winning the series, and even if they get swept and they lose each game by 20 points, they still have more of a chance than that. It's the exact same thing. You're asking me, am I surprised that Kevin Durant can score more points in 2 games than Harrison Barnes scored in 7 games? No surprises at all.
One thing I was surprised by was seeing Steph Curry lying down during the game with a towel over his head late in the game, not even watching the action on the floor. What do you think that was all about?
He probably needed to decompress. There's a lot of emotions going on. It's the NBA Finals. His team is now up 2-0. They've been in this position before. This is clearly a different basketball team. Adding Kevin Durant, I don't read too much into it at all.
As someone who deals with concussion issues, I was thinking to myself, you know what? He's just getting that head right. He's in the headspace right now. He just needs that headspace more than he needs to watch the garbage time on the floor. And next we have this.
And speaking of being on the floor in headspace, I thought about you over the weekend when I saw the Yankees. Jacoby Ellsbury got a concussion. Are you starting a trend?
I need to reach out to Jacoby Ellsbury. From one Jacoby to another, we're both dealing with concussions. We both are just trying to get right in the head. Shout to Jacoby Ellsbury. Get back on the field as soon as possible. And shout to me, I'll get back in the bar as soon as possible once I get done with these concussions. I know Paul Pierce said that KD was the best player in the world, but he wasn't the only analyst that we loved that was talking a little bit crazy on Sunday night during Game 2. Jeff Van Gundy went so far as to say that Steph and KD are the best duo to ever play together in the history of the NBA. Now, we all know that that's not true, but my question for you is, Jalen Rose, this is the start of something. They will both be on this Warriors team for quite some time. Could you see these two turning into the best duo that ever played together in the NBA?
Well, they're going to start working on being in the conversation. You clearly can't say they're there right now because it's their first season playing together. But the league has not seen two MVPs playing on the same roster, both under 30 at the exact same time. He's seeing what we're all seeing. These two players that have gotten dynamic as the season has progressed, they're only going to continue to get better. The thing that makes both of those guys special, and usually when your best player can do this, it makes life so much easier on everybody else. They can play off the ball. And they're efficient, and both of them shoot with range. So now you spread the floor. Each of them can play off the bounce, create for themselves or for others. They're basically 50, 40, 90 guys when they shoot. So it's not like when your best player shoots and you're like, he could have passed that to me, I'd have made it. With those guys, like, that's a good shot. I understand why he took it. So it definitely is now creating the scenario to where we're going to watch these guys play together for a really long time, possibly. It can be something dangerous for the rest of the league.
You mentioned they're both 50, 40, 90 guys. In Game 2, the Warriors were a 50, 40, 90 team. And on the other side of the ball, especially from the three, the Cavaliers shot under 28% from three. As they go to Cleveland, we both expect the role players to play better. The Cavs rely on the three-point shot. It has failed them to this point. Do you think they will finally start making threes?
I think they make threes, but it won't be because the Golden State Warriors aren't trying to defense them, because they do a good job of smothering the line. It's going to be that Tristan Thompson's now getting offensive rebounds and getting dunks and playing with more energy. And Kyrie Irving's getting to the bucket and getting to the lane. And LeBron James is getting to the paint and getting to the free throw line. Now all of a sudden the defense has to find a way to go more boxes and elbows. The kick-out passes become a lot more open. The role players knock down shots in Game 3.
Jalen Rose. There is an Instagram model on Instagram by the name of Karen Vi. Because I am a professional, I did some research for this show, and I looked at her Instagram page, and I have to say that she is an attractive young lady. Not only do I have this opinion, but apparently Le'Veon Bell does as well, as he was seen commenting on her page, saying some very, let's say, complimentary things about her appearance. She, in turn, went to put him on blast, being like, wait a second, didn't he just have a baby? Isn't he in a relationship? And let me just say this. This isn't the first time this has happened. My man Kristaps Porzingis just last week was in a very similar situation. Will all of this shaming of athletes shooting their shot at Instagram models change the way athletes behave on social media? Take us behind the curtain.
I don't think it will. A lot of times, he's not just trying to, I guess, holler at her. He wants the rest of the world to know that he's trying to do it, so that may drum up some support. Put pressure on her to talk to him.
There's a lot of Steelers fans. There's a lot of Steelers fans that could leave similar comments too. I like what you're doing there. See, you always take us behind the curtain into the way that the athletes think, both on and off the field. Brilliant work by you.
And it's two sides to every coin. There's some people may look at it as being savage, and maybe some people that look at it as being thirsty. But when you do reach out to somebody and you don't know them, they have a right to respond. And every now and then, you may get this level of response.
Sure.
She's not interested. Here's something that I want to point out to fans that kind of get lost. For those that think somebody should get with somebody else because of their accolades, that is the wrong reason to get with somebody. Those are called groupies. Those are called gold diggers. You don't get with somebody just because they're good at a sport, or they're good at acting, or they have something that everybody else envies like money. You get with somebody because you actually like them, care about them, want to be in a relationship with them, and hope to love them one day. Not because they can get 5 yards per carry. Stop being so shallow, fans, thinking that just because somebody accomplished something, they should be able to holler at anybody. It does not work like that.
And another thing is, there's a great quote from Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I don't know what Le'Veon Bell's personal situation is. Maybe he's in a relationship. Maybe he's not in a relationship. But hey, why not shoot your shot? I didn't do the research on Le'Veon Bell's relationship because I was doing the research on Karen Vi. Next, we have this. You remember Cam Newton made like a professionally produced video on his birthday trip when he went down to Mexico, I believe it was. I do. It was to the sounds of 2 Chainz, and it was really well done. There was drone shots. It was high production value. Like, there was more money spent on that video than there was on this program. Yep. And now there has been a response from Ryan Khalil, his teammates' Instagram account. Some of him and some of his other Panther teammates went camping out on the lake. And do you know what they did? They did a shot-for-shot remake of Cam's birthday video because they were upset they were not invited to Cam's video. My question for you is this. It's very simple. Is camping cultural?
Yeah. To go camping, you're giving up one thing that makes it cultural. Technology. Oh, I can't watch TV. I can't be on the phone. I can't cook. I can't fry some food. What? Can't get no ranch. Where do we get some hot sauce? No refrigerator? You know, that's more of what it is. And here's the last thing. I got to sleep outside?
That's what it is for me.
Shower.
For me, it's expensive. It's like, it's one thing to stay in a hotel, $200 a night or whatever, but then you got to buy a tent. Those are like $800 tents. Then you got to bring all the stuff. It just ends up being as much money as a regular vacation would be. If it was cheaper, I think I could be into it. But when you start adding up how much it costs to actually go camping, you're not saving any money and you're sleeping on the ground instead of having some nice people come and change your bed sheets every single day. I do not support camping.
Like, can you pay somebody to come set up this tent for me?
Shout to the campers around the world. I have nothing against camping. I understand how other people like camping. It is just not for me, Obi-Wan Jacoby. And now we have this. As I said, I've been paying a little bit more attention to the Stanley Cup Finals. I've become a hockey fan right around this series. And it went to Nashville, and not only am I a die-easy hockey fan during this time, Rob and Rex Ryan attended the game as well. There is some video online, some cell phone video shot from far away of Rob and Rex Ryan getting into a little bar scuffle during either the pre or post game in Nashville. What? If you were just a civilian, why would you possibly want anything with Rob and Rex Ryan?
I appreciate that Rob and Rex are just enjoying life. Mm-hmm. They got multi-millions of dollars to coach football for a really long time. Their father was really successful in the NFL. And there's a score of the game, and there's the game of life. They're really outspoken. They can be flamboyant in their own terms. They enjoy sports clearly, and they're brothers. You could go out, have a good time, have some adult beverages, and the difference between being a head coach of a team or a coordinator versus one that just got fired, you can drink whatever you want.
Sure.
And not worry about somebody trying to count them.
Sure.
You can get into a squabble if somebody want to talk trash to you. Yep. So I have no problems with it at all.
It didn't seem that serious of a physical altercation from what I saw. Shout out to the Ryan brothers. One of my favorite siblings in all of sports. I love the Ryan brothers so much. Now we have this, Jalen.
I love the Wright brothers.
Okay. You did it to yourself. What did the Wright brothers invent?
Airplanes.
No, we'll take it. That is correct, Jalen Rose. Shout to Jalen Rose and everybody that appeared on Jimmy Kimmel and Jalen and Glenn Robinson III's big victory on behalf of the Michigan University. Let's be honest, Glenn Robinson carried your team in that one.
He did. No doubt about it.
One thing that
he was KD and Steph, and I was like,
Zaza. You were Zaza
whoever
out there.
ain't playing.
Yeah, you were McAdoo out there. I do want to say this. I was extremely impressed, not by the great Jimmy Kimmel's hosting, also when Glenn Robinson had the answer for what the letter K represents on the periodic table. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember what he said?
And big shout to Andre Drummond. Big shout to Karan Butler representing UConn.
Shout out.
He said potassium.
Yes, yes, yes. One of my favorite players in the NBA is Draymond Green. He does so many things, both on offense and defense, that don't end up in the stat sheet. He does so many things in the locker room. He does so much trash talking, and he's so great in front of a microphone. Here is what Draymond Green had to say after a little back and forth with a reporter after Game 2.
Just really trying to lead this team as much as I can in the ways that I do for this team. You know, worrying about the officials and all that. I think at the end of the day, I think everyone talks to officials. I talk to them. But, you know, going over the edge isn't going to win me a championship. You know, I think I'm a pretty smart guy, and I learned my lesson. You know, so I went over the edge before. Fool me once, you can't fool me twice.
Do you think it is fair the reporter asked Draymond Green of how he's been able to restrain himself during the series?
I think it's fair because it cost him the championship last year. And a lot of people isolate that situation where LeBron James stepped over him as the actual reason why he got suspended. It wasn't just that play. It was an accumulation of technicals that he understood if he got another one would lead to now a suspension. So since that happened, maybe he doesn't play with the edge that he loves, but at the same time he understands now adding KD, the way Steph's playing, Klay got going in Game 2, he's still doing the intangibles, Clark was making shots. Now all of a sudden the Golden State Warriors look like the kind of team that not only can win the championship this year, but can create a dynastic scenario if they're able to stay healthy moving forward. And that's scary for the league.
I know I wasn't the only person watching Game 2 when it looked like LeBron James was about to run out into transition and get some sort of a lob for a dunk or something. Draymond grabbed onto him, held him to keep him from doing so. LeBron kind of pushed him off. And I know I wasn't the only person sitting at home or like you in the building that kind of stood up and said, uh-oh, here we go again. And guess what? The whole thing was diffused. Is Draymond Green a new Draymond Green this year?
I don't think he's a new Draymond. I think playing with that edge at 6'7", a player that transformed his body, if you look at the pictures of him at Michigan State versus how he's built now, when you're at that size, a lot of times people wonder where you're going to play. They'll say he's not tall enough to play center. Well, really has no post game to play for. Can he defend either one of those positions? Can he make an open shot? And all of a sudden, he not only has been a champion in high school, won a couple state championships, Big Ten Player of the Year in college, now a championship and a lot of success with the Golden State Warriors. He's morphed into a player that highlights the depth lineup based on his abilities up front. Now he's become an all-NBA performer and a guy that they truly need up front if they're going to continue to have that lineup be so effective.
Jalen, you can hear in my voice the frustration that I'm about to bring up this next topic. You're like, it's just one of those things that happened. The same thing happened last year, right around this time when the Golden State Warriors took a 2-0 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm doing it again. Now we have ESPN spending time and money calling up various different bookmakers, sports books in Vegas, asking the question, would you favor the Golden State Warriors against those famous Bulls teams of the mid-90s? Led by Michael Jordan. My question to you is very simple. Why are we doing this?
Biggie said it best. I live out there, so don't go there.
Yep.
This team has the ability to accomplish something great. So what usually happens is now in this hot take cycle, people want to be the first to say, I did it. I told you. But it hasn't happened yet. It clearly can't transpire right now. We can't say a Kevin Durant that has yet to win a championship, along with a Steph Curry, neither have won a Finals MVP, can actually compete as a duo or as a team with anything Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen led.
Since we're going all the way there and just spitting hot takes off left and right, I have to sort of entertain this hypothetical. I know the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win in 6 games, but let's just imagine that the Warriors win in, 5 games, something like that. That'll, likely happen. Could you see the Cavaliers roster dramatically changing? And how could you see it changing?
As LeBron James gets older, the Cavs roster is going to drastically change consistently. But it ain't going to change between he and Kyrie. Now, they're going to always try to figure what they may or may not be able to get for Love, but I think he's a keeper. Now, everybody else is going to be come and go, just like we saw with the Bulls in the mid-'90s. Mm-hmm. When you have anchor-type players the way they do, you try to mix and match the parts, the same way Miami did when he and Wade and Bosh were leading that team. The same way Boston did when it was Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and KG. Those teams continue to morph themselves to see how long they can milk an opportunity to be a contender.
Last time the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Warriors, there was a famous meeting poolside here in Los Angeles where Kevin Love and LeBron James sat down and broke bread and had a tete-a-tete, and it led to Kevin Love signing with the Cavaliers, a big deal. Am I crazy for thinking that perhaps if the hypothetical happens that the Warriors win this series pretty easily, there could be a similar type of meeting that doesn't lead to Kevin Love staying with the Cavs, but actually leaving the Cavs? Like 0 to 100, how likely do you think that would be?
0. I think that is framed on the right track and the wrong train. Yeah. Because when you're LeBron James, you come to recruit Kevin Love, and that's the behavior you exhibit to get him to sign. But if you don't want him there anymore, you go straight to the GM. You don't even involve Kevin Love because he doesn't have a no-trade clause. So he does not control whether he stays or leave anyway.
I think that's very fair. Yeah. I want to get your take on a couple of things. Number one is this. These are some of those little stories that no one's really discussing, but I want to know what you say about this. The NFL has changed their policy, and they will now allow liquor commercials during their broadcasts. Does that mean anything to you?
It doesn't mean that much, except the power of the dollar exceeds anything that we try to have with ethics as it relates to a society. I know the intention was good, but it's like, we're not selling liquor, but we're selling beer. We're still finding other ways to promote that. Eventually, the restraints are going to be lifted to where you see those level of products endorsed by the NFL and other major sports, because it's all about the money, money, money. Money. Money, 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 money.
One thing that I've learned from listening to you on this show is when in doubt, follow the money. If something doesn't look right, follow the money. If you're confused about why something happened in the world of sports, follow the money. You follow the money, it will always lead you to the truth. You follow us, and we will lead you to Twitter questions. You're listening to Jalen and Jacoby, kinda, on ESPN Radio. Now it is just Jacoby on ESPN Radio. I am finally free from the creative ball and chain that is working with my brother, Jalen Rose. He had to leave. So you are with me, David Jacoby, as we continue on Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. We have a very simple motto on this program. That motto is... The first question I'm going to answer is from Thomas. Thomas asks, is it fair to speculate that the Cavs would be in a better spot this finals if they had Andrew Wiggins to help guard KD? That's a very fair question. Obviously, the Cavs drafted Andrew Wiggins, who had not played a single game before he was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, sending Kevin Love to the Cavs. Now, some people think that, hey, maybe LeBron James knew this was going to happen. And those people are right, because when LeBron James announced his decision, he said he was very excited to play with all of the Cavaliers and did not mention Andrew Wiggins. Obviously, something was in play. Back-channel trades and roster moves happen, and we're the last people to find out. LeBron James definitely knew. So that is an interesting hypothetical But Andrew Wiggins cannot guard KD, especially on this Warriors team. There is no one that can guard KD.
Nope.
Even LeBron James.
Nope.
But here is the interesting hypothetical that Thomas didn't point out that I want to offer up to anybody who's watching these NBA finals and saying, this is lopsided. This doesn't feel right. Something is wrong. Why is LeBron frustrated? His body language is bad. Something that no one has talked about in sports media, to my knowledge, Andrew Bogut is on the Cavs. Andrew Bogut is a Cleveland Cavalier. He's injured. I think he only played for like 58 seconds as a Cleveland Cavalier. Yeah. But since we're going down this hypothetical, let's just look at this. If Andrew Bogut was on this team, that would make a difference. Tristan Thompson had 4 rebounds in Game 2. And in Game 1, he was awful. When he gets the pass, he sets a pick, he rolls to the basket, both players follow the ball handler, he receives the roll pass right at 15 feet from the basket at the free throw line, and then he looks terrified. He looks like my 4-year-old son watching a scary part of an animated film. He doesn't know what to do with the ball. He can't go to the basket. It looks like the shooters are covered. They're leaving him wide open. He doesn't want to shoot from 15 feet because that is way outside of his range. He just looks scared. Do you know what Andrew Bogut does if he catches the ball right there? He makes a threat to shoot the ball. He can shoot the ball from there. Someone needs to cover him. He can drive to the basket and draw defenders. And then if he does that, he kicks to an open shooter. He is not as athletic as Tristan Thompson. He's not the defensive force that Tristan Thompson is, but he is a smart basketball player with a high IQ that I think would make a difference in this series. Thomas, to answer your question, no, Andrew Wiggins would not help. But to answer the question that I turned it into, fans, when you are watching this NBA Finals, remember that Andrew Bogut is supposed to be on this team. If it wasn't for a twist of fate and a twist of a knee, I think this would be a very different Finals.
Yep.
Next question that we have is from Alex. He asks, is it a soft move or boss move that Damian Lillard posted a picture with the Larry O'Brien trophy from 1977?
What?
It's a soft move, but that's not what's important. What's important is his backcourt teammate tweeting about Klay Thompson, quote-unquote, finding his own squad after the Warriors win. It's just one of those things where you're like, CJ, you're really making a leap here, huh? Like, you've already ended the series after Game 1. Klay Thompson's coming off of a stinker of a postseason, and you're going to say that he's going to, quote-unquote, find his own squad? If there's one thing that this postseason has taught us is you cannot have your own squad in today's NBA. And it's also another thing easy for him to say, oh yeah, he's going to find his own squad. You have Damian Lillard in your backcourt, and you couldn't find too many postseason wins. I love CJ McCollum. I met him when he came and did the job interview with Jalen and Bill Simmons, the Podfather, always, respect to the Podfather. I found him to be intelligent and articulate, and he is now taking classes this summer at the Harvard School of Business. I have a lot of questions about that. Did he apply? Something tells me that he didn't have to go through the rigorous application process that most people do. How many classes is he taking? Is he living in Cambridge? Is he taking one class that's once a week and just kind of like working out the rest of the time? Or is he taking a full curriculum? Is he earning credits towards some advanced degree? Or is he earning credits towards his undergraduate degree? Get back to me, CJ. You're one of my favorite players in the NBA.
Shout out.
Next question that we have. And I love this question because I've thought about this way more than any human being should think about this. It's from Uncle Junior King. Have you ever driven or rode in Mazda MPV? This is relevant and important to people over 32 years old that love hip-hop because during Enter the 36 Chambers, the Wu-Tang Clan spoke about MPV minivans the same way that current rappers speak about Bentleys. I didn't even know what an MPV was when I was growing up, but I knew that MPV fat. I knew that, and I was so excited until I finally saw an MPV, and I was like, this is what Wu-Tang was rolling in? And now that I have a large family, and I have a minivan in my garage, or outside my garage, I don't have to get into details, the Wu-Tang Clan is big. And just like me, they needed a vehicle that fit their situation. If they had whatever was hot at the time, the Rolls Royce or the 500L Green, as Nas said, they wouldn't be able to fit the whole clan in one car. And then you're in a car, and they didn't have GPS back then. And usually have to follow people. They were going to the concert, they'd have to follow people around. They said, you know what, let's get an MPV, and we will have everybody in the same van. Next question comes from Indiana James. That question is, have either of you ever served on jury duty? I have. Once in Brooklyn, the courthouse was like 3 blocks from my house. It was a walk. It was light work. I went there, and it was a really boring case. Like, when you get selected for the jury, first of all, you're in this big pool, and it's like 40 people in the room, and they're selecting the jury. And it's not exactly the OJ trial. So it's a couple dumb lawyers, and they're asking dumb questions. And a lot of people got told by their friends the right thing to say so they can get out of it. So people would just raise their hand and be like, I don't believe in the justice system. And then they would be dismissed. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting off work for this. Like, let this ride this out. So then I was on the jury duty. It was a car accident case. We listened to this whole thing for 8 hours, lunch break, whatever. And then the next day I was dismissed. So around 10:30 a.m., I had the rest of the day off. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't go into work that day. I took the rest of the day off. Thank you so much for the question. Appreciate that. Next question that we have is from Stephen Denis, or Dennis. Can LeBron's red wine and Godfather save the Cavs series?
Nope.
I think Reggie might be right that the answer is probably no. I do not, in my heart, think that the Cavs will win this series. But when you pick the Cavs in 6, you stick to the Cavs in 6. But I'll say this. His red wine will make him feel better. The Godfather will inspire him. And we're doing this thing right now at ESPN where we're comparing them to the Bulls. The same thing we did last year. This series isn't over.
Nope.
This will be a very different conversation after the Cavs win Game 3 on ABC. And before Game 3, watch NBA Countdown hosted by Jalen Rose.
Shout out.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News. We'll be back tomorrow.